Hey guys, Thunder here. Today I wanted to talk about blue battle events and how to get set up for those. Talk about battle event multiplier links, your different build options, and in general how to improve yourself while you're working up the ladder on those builds. So let's go ahead and let's start talking about the multiplier because that makes a really big difference. And we'll start going from bottom to top to keep it nice and easy. And the bottom one we really like is this magic resistance. It's a huge deal. The reason we like the magic resistance is that the boss has an attack and it's a secondary attack on the boss, but it bypasses 100% of our shield and it just hits our health, and it's always pure magic damage, that attack. So magic resistance there is really, really helpful to reduce that heavy incoming damage from the boss. Keeping our health kind of high on the boss is usually challenging since it bypasses so much shield. It has this just constantly heavy hitting attack. And the blue build doesn't really do a good job at recovering health too great. Um, does a lot of great shield recovery, but the health recovery is a little bit low by baseline. So we like to supplement that here with this 4% healing, and that's going to do a lot of work towards making sure that we have a nice high amount of health, and just trying to keep ourselves very stable. Now, as a note, this is very defensive, and that's intentional. There's a lot of incoming damage from the blue boss. One attack usually wipes out your shield, and another hits your health incredibly hard. So you have a lot of work to keep up your shield and to keep up your health and keep everything moving smoothly. One thing of note is like this setup is pretty important here. If you don't have the legendaries to do this, that's okay. Definitely use an epic or rare to get those bonuses. They will really help you out a lot. It's worth considering. Alright, moving into our orbs. We love orbs for battle events. Even down at the lowest rare orb, you get a nice solid 5 multiplier boost, which is better than any legendary you can slap in the build pretty much. And we love when we move up because at our epic level, we start gaining spirits. Right here at the start of combat, we gain an extra spirit. And on our legendary level, we gain 2 extra spirits. So not only are we getting more multi, but we're really getting a nice starting board that we get to focus on and just start playing with rather than spending all this time on setup, which could bite us in the butt if we're not set up by the time the boss attacks us. So we really like to do that. So, socketing some orbs in here real quick. As a free to play player, you'll probably have not too hard of a time getting 4 rares across here, and you'll be able to get crafts. So, you can upgrade 3 of those to your epic orbs like these, right? And then you'll be able to have 3 of your epic and 1 rare. Uh, then you can upgrade one of your epic to a legendary orb with a craft later on. But not everyone has like not well. Let's frame it this way. Uh, that's not all going to happen at once, right? You have to wait for your crafts to do that, and those crafts are a pretty big deal. So you want to make sure you time your push upon them. I'll put up another video on how to do that later. And let's do this real quick. So you'll notice that I have enhanced my legendary orbs, but I have not enhanced my epic orbs. And if I had a rare up there, I wouldn't enhance it either, because enhancing a legendary orb does increase your multiplier. See, this is now up to 25 instead of the original 15. But if I enhance this epic orb, it's not going to gain any benefits. Only the legendary orbs get that benefit. In addition, you'll notice that these are all level 1s. Sinking gold and leveling up the orb isn't really going to do much of anything for this, so it's just a waste of resources. Save your gold, level other things. Now, one other thing that's important to note is these orbs that come with the event. They're not particularly high power orbs, so instead of putting them on your character afterwards, what you want to do is sacrifice them to the next event's orbs, so those get enhanced a little bit, and you don't really lose any of the essences that way, which is quite nice. If you want to get more epic or legendary orbs, you're going to have to spend either a few gems or a little bit of money to do that. Ways you can do that is that in the battle event, there's a spinner wheel which can give you a legendary orb, and there's the orb and parts where you can spend gems and roll to try and get one of those. You'll also get epic orbs out of both of those activities. You could also use spend rewards, and if you spend 3,000 gems, you will get a legendary orb as well. If you top up, I believe the first level at 300 top up will give you a nice epic orb. Alright, so moving past orbs, we have a lot of variants on this top row here, so let's talk about it. The main thing is understanding that as a player who's not going to put money in, you're going to want to do the best you can to stack up your multiplier here. And let's say this is after your craft, so you're going to have the legendary battle event token, and you're going to have the legendary gloves that you can craft. So that's 30 multiplier. You'll probably round this off with your friend token, and for the last slot we tend to use just an epic token here. So this gives 47 multiplier, which is huge. So it's going to outweigh getting a 4% heal or a 4% shield here, so we'll never really consider these options. But if you're rolling your BE keys and you happen to get one of these two battle event legendaries, right, and these are two new items that come out with each battle event, you can turn on the 2 for you passive. And that's when you use 2 blue, you have 50% chance of triggering a 2 white, which is a pretty awesome deal, because you can get a lot of extra things out of that we'll talk about later. And if you happen to get both, you can get the 4 for you passive, which can trigger a 4 white, which is pretty amazing as well. So I happen to have both, so let me just throw them on here as an example. And if you take a look, this will now active, and I have that 4 for you passive. The one thing of note here that I want to call out is as you're pushing up on this boss and you're starting to realize that the boss is hitting you really, really low and it's getting a bit risky, if you want to squeeze out a few extra levels, it'll be a little risky. But you can actually take out this healing here and put in your friend token and the epic token. And that will give you more health and more armor. But you're not going to heal as much, so you're really going to need the passives. And that's going to be the 2 white trigger or the 4 white trigger to get extra healing. And I'll show you how that works in just a moment on our main build over here. Alright, so this is a modified version of the turtle build, which everyone's probably seen at some point, but I'll review it just to go over it for clarity here. The main weapon here is the Malicite Truncheon, and we love it mostly because of the Granny's Blue Broth passive, which is really great because every time you heal you get 2 blue spirits, which are going to help you keep chaining those 4 blue attacks on the boss. And in addition, we're going to use the Wing Defender Shield, which is great if the boss has a first attack that does physical damage for reducing that, and it also has the really important Mighty Magic passive, which is going to give us when you use the 4 blue, you trigger that 1 red, and you'll see how that works. The 1 red for us is going to be Inner Fire, which is going to give us a bit of healing, which is great, and build up that intensity. Now in general, we love intensity when we're using Chilling Cold and spamming 4 blue, because that's going to increase our damage coming from the attack and increase our shield that we're regenning from each one of these 4 blues we're hitting the boss with. However, that being said, if we don't have a passive at all, we actually want to use Crest Guardian here. Now the reason we like to do this is actually twofold. One, when we're attacking the blue boss, we get a strong magic buff. And when we're at 3 intensity, we also have a strong magic buff. So after the boss hits me, let's say I get dropped really low. Pretty dangerous, right? Instead of trying to spam 4 blue and rebuild my armor, but not a lot of health. What I can actually do is switch and hit 1 white and trigger this warrior healing. Um, and because we have the boss magic buff and we have full intensity, that's going to be a huge heal to help us regain a lot of that lost health we just had an issue with. And that instead of going back to 4 white immediately, we're actually going to do this one more time. We won't have the huge heal this time, but it'll be decent. And if you don't have a second white, you can always hit 1 blue on the second time. And that's just going to hit the boss with a little magic damage. But the important part on that is we're going to drop our intensity to 2 instead of 3. Now the boss says it can't be stunned at 3 intensity, and they're treating the freeze as that stun, okay? So we can't keep freezing the boss when we're using this build unless we drop our intensity. So by doing this, we can drop our intensity 1 point after a nice big heal to get our health back. And we just use another heal or a quick light attack to drop that intensity down, and then we can actually stun the boss in the middle of the round. So then we'll switch back, hit it with this freezing frenzy, stun the boss, and then rebuild our shield and health all the way back up, essentially resetting the fight, even if you don't have a passive, which is really, really nice for keeping yourself alive. Alright, let's talk about passives now, and this gets back to keeping it a little bit more simple in terms of playstyle, and you're going back just to your regular standard turtle build where you're just spamming the 4 blue, and instead of relying on something like the magic thief to generate blue if you get in trouble, your passive will heal you and give you more blue, and if you actually get in that bad trouble, you can always hit 1 red to sort things out. So if you have passive 1, you could trigger a 2 white, and 2 white on Crest Guardian isn't really going to help us too much. So what we want to do is we're going to swap over, and we have 2 options. We'll talk about this one first, and this talent is White Witchcraft. The nice thing about the 2 white here is that it has a very strong heal, and it's going to trigger because we're spamming 4 blue, so we're going to have that nice boss buff, and we're just going to get that really big heal, boom, right to our health every time this triggers, which is great for staying alive, and we don't have to lose our intensity for that at all. In addition, it's able to debuff the boss's magic damage stat. So right before the boss does a really big attack with magic on you, if this happens to trigger it, right, from your 4 blue, you can get a magic damage debuff on the boss to take less damage. This is quite good. However, I don't actually like reducing the boss's magic damage in this case, because it means that sometimes I'll take more damage from an attack and sometimes I'll take less. And I like the really reliable, kind of consistent feeling with my builds as I'm leveling up the boss. So I actually prefer usually to swap this out, and I like to pick up Sacred Rage. So Sacred Rage is 2 white, is going to give us a nice solid heal and a little attack damage on the boss, which is not too big a deal. But that being said, there's no magic resist debuff. I'm always going to take the same damage, and I'll very easily just be able to say, okay, I'm not going to be able to survive that next level safely, and then maybe make a decision to say, okay, I'll use less healing and more multiplier or anything like that. Or maybe I'll pause a push and wait for more crafts or something like that. Now, assuming you do get passive 2, what you actually want to do is swap into Mystical Wind here, for that super heal, 4 white. So whenever you trigger that, right, this is a huge heal. Huge, huge, huge heal. This is like more than double all the heals we've been talking about before. Between the power of this heal, the boss's magic buff on you, and having full intensity, this is gonna bring you to full health or very close. If you got a lot of health, you might need to level up the talent a tiny bit, but it is a really, really strong heal. Definitely very nice. So, playstyle wise, if you have either Sacred Rage or White Witchcraft or Healing Wind with your passive, you're just going to play it like the regular turtle build where you just DPS through the boss using 4 blues constantly, and every once in a while you get this nice big heal up, which gives you more blue spirits to work with. Alright, This is going to end the blue battle event guide for here. I'll do a separate video that talks about pushing and what to look for and how to watch all of that later. Alright, I wish you the best of luck with your Questland pushes, and I hope you have a wonderful time. Thunder out.